Hello, this is Mark BH70 on November 2nd, Wednesday, 2011. There was this movie, and this goes along with another video that I just did, but there was a movie, and there was this man, and he was interested. It was called Shallow Hal. And if you haven't seen the movie, it's a great movie. If you watch movies, I don't watch movies anymore, but it's a great movie. And there's this man called Hal, and the movie's called Shallow Hal. And Shallow Hal was looking for, a certain kind of woman, and she had to be, perfect. Was his idea. And he came along with Tony Robbins, and Tony Robbins played himself in the movie, and he he ran into Shallow Hal, this man named Hal, and he realized that he wasn't seeing women the right way, and he said he's missing, what's inside a woman. He's looking only at the outside, and he's looking, at women based solely on their exterior. And so he does something to him, to switch his mind to make him think about looking at the inside of a woman, and it gets to the point where he disregards the exterior of a woman. And this man that is his friend goes to him and he says, "Do you see what Tony Robbins has done to you? He's made you look at the interior, some type of interior beauty," and he said, "You're finding women that are not attractive." And he said, he basically said, "Well, who says they're not attractive?" That's what Tony Robbins says, and that's what his friend said. He says, "Well, whatever happened," he said, "I fell in love with her, and you tried to take off this mental perspective as a word, or there was a phrase that changed his perspective back to the old perspective of looking at women on their exterior." And he said, "Who was the love of your life?" And it was Jason Alexander that was in it. And he said, and Jason Alexander said, "Wonder Woman." And he said, but basically, Jason Alexander had said, he said, "If I find her attractive, what difference does it make?" Or the Shallow Hal, who was played by Jack Black, said, "If I find her attractive, what difference does it make what anybody else thinks?" And Jason Alexander said, "Third party perspective, other people agreeing with you that the woman is attractive." And he said, for example, and so Jack Black said, for example, who is Hal, "Who's the love of your life?" And then Jason Alexander's character said, "Wonder Woman." And then he said, "Would it bother you if the rest of the world did not find her attractive?" And he said, "No, because I know that'd be wrong." And he said, "That's what I had with Rosemary, this woman who was fat." And I think, and when when he went back to seeing the exterior of a woman, and it was this dramatic thing where he was going after women solely for looks, and then it was as if he couldn't even see the exterior looks. And when he went back and saw her exterior looks and her interior looks, he loved her anyway. And I think that's what God does. He gives a different perspective. And I really think that when you talk about atheists or philosophers and people who would say They have a different perspective about God. I think God is about changing our perspective. And it's hard to say what you're missing out on unless you've had your perspective changed. There was a blind woman that I knew, and she had some cataracts removed, and she still couldn't see clearly, but she could see better with her cataracts removed. And I think it's the same thing. When you get to know God, you do see better. Your perspective changes, and it doesn't really matter what other people say, just like the movie said, because you know they're wrong. But I think, the atheist perspective is more about a perspective than it is about facts. And I think people that are against God, people that hate God, I think it's more about their hatred than it is about a certain fact or a certain situation. And I'm about out of time here. I can close this up. But, once you see, your exterior may not be that nice, but once you see the interior beauty of God, you don't care about the exterior. Jack Black's character, Shal Hal, when he saw the interior beauty and the exterior beauty, he was in love. I think he knew she wasn't the most beautiful woman in the world. I think that was I think the character knew he wasn't the most beautiful woman. She was very fat. But he fell in love with her when he saw both the interior and the exterior. And I think it's about God changing our perspective rather than justifying one way or the other a perspective. It's not about justifying the facts. I think it's about changing your perspective, and that's why people are for God or against God, not because certain facts. All right?